guys, this is ZOAR Fitness, and today I want to talk about mastering the pistol for athletes with long legs. So obviously if you have long limbs and long legs, you're at a disadvantage in the pistol, just like any other squatting movement, right? So there's really two things that we can do to try to make up some ground in just a traditional squat if we have someone with long legs. The first one is just standing a little bit wider in our stance. So like actually using a lot of the hip mobility, so taking the legs away from the midline, where we can try to sit the hips down in between the legs, and I'm in a wider stance, but I don't have to have as much ankle mobility in this one. So if you see here, I'm not tracking super far forward, but I am in a nice upright torso position. The other thing is if we use a lot more ankle mobility, where we track those knees a little bit more forward, but now, again, we don't need as much hip mobility. So that's kind of the trade-off. Hip mobility versus ankle mobility. So as I was thinking about the pistol, one of those things really gets taken away to a large degree. So if I'm standing this wide where my knee is maybe a foot from the midline of the bottom of the squat, now in a single-legged squat, I don't have a choice. My foot has to be directly under my center of mass. So when I'm in the bottom of the pistol, this femur is now directly on the midline, and I have nowhere else to make up the mobility with my hip. I mean, obviously it demands hip mobility in terms of internal rotation a little bit because I'm over top of it, and also adduction where I'm bringing it towards the midline. So that I need the hip mobility in that sense, but I can't allow for my hip to sit on the inside like I do for a lot of squats. So it has to be here, and what that means is that I'm either getting pushed way out the back because I have really bad ankle mobility, or I can drive that knee forward, and now I have to just, again, have this really hard time keeping my heel down in the bottom of my pistol. So, the solution is just gonna be, again, making up some of this ground at all three of the joints in the lower body, the ankle, the knee, and the hip. First of all, again, we need the hip internal rotation ability, we need the hip adduction ability where we're, again, bringing it close to the midline, we have that wiggle room, and that's the first thing. Second thing is if we can get lower in the squat, the closer I can get to my heels like this, the less distance there is from the ball of my femur to the midline here, this direction, right? Versus if I only stop here because my quads are so tight, my hip is so far out the back that makes it super difficult. So, and then obviously the last thing is the ankle mobility, where, again, if I can keep this, push this knee further forward while keeping this heel down, that's just the best solution, where I'm gonna be in this position here. And again, I'm gonna have to round through the back to a certain degree to be able to get to that position, but it's just gonna make up that ground a little bit easier. So you really have to be able to optimize knee, ankle, and hip, all three of those joints, to be able to have a shot at mastering the pistol as a tall athlete.